I don't know. Like, so all I know is that war is bad. Like, I mean, I like shooting and I support military and people who are in the military like it. Like, special operators like being special operators. They like getting into shit. They like doing things like that. They like war. But, I remember like our old production manager, I asked him, like, why do you want to do that? Like, why do you want to, he's like, cause I want to, what did he say? I want to get involved. I want to get involved in shit. I'm like, what does that mean? He had some term for it. I'm like, what does that fucking mean? He's like, fucking violent shit. And I'm like, all right, that's what he liked. And not in the U.S. though. But I just know that war is bad. I know from growing up, and being involved in the punk rock scene and just the things I learned in Southwest Florida that like war's not a good thing. Someone's gaining, and the poor people die. Yeah. That's what I know.
It's good for the money.
It's good for the money, but you do see the side of the Ukrainians where like they invaded and try to take Kiev and couldn't do it. But my big thing too with the war in Ukraine is that Russia could win at any time.
Absolutely.
At any time Russia could carpet bomb, could do a million different things. They have a million different assets of, they could do tactical nuclear weapons. They could do Moabs, and they don't do that. They're fighting these conventional wars, trying to grind Ukraine down to a standstill.
And you know why, right?
No. That's why you're here.
To minimize the death of the civilians. Simple reason. To minimize the death of the civilians. Because we all saw what happened in Gaza just recently.
But that's completely different than what the American media tells us about Putin.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we, the United States, we need an enemy. It's just how it's been for years. Like, we need to have an enemy. It's just how it works, man.
It's like Shark Coast. All my employees think I'm the enemy. They need someone to hate. So they all hate me.
That's not true.
Oh, it's completely true. I'm the big bad.
But how about this? How about how this war has now, after this war, no war is ever going to be the same. No war is ever going to be the same.
We were talking about that. But here's the problem. Like, so me and Luke were just talking about that in pre-prep. Like, no, it's one of the wars that, if you look throughout history, where it changes everything. Like, one of them's the Civil War. One of them's World War I. Like the Civil War changed tactics. World War I changed tactics. And now you have the Ukrainian war, which is everything is changing again. But it's not total war. Like, meaning that the Russians are holding back their resources and not really fighting the way they could fight.
Exactly.
But you do see similar things happening in Gaza with drones and similar fighting styles. But like but keep going. I'm sorry I interrupted your thought. But it changed war forever. I mean, I'm sure Omar is just dying to talk about it.
Meat grinder. It's I personally see the usage of commercial drones in a wartime capacity to be equivalent to the invention of the machine gun in World War I. All the tactics were built around the machine gun not existing. So when World War I kicked off, they get men to line up single file, real nice and neat, and charge all at once into one dude behind a machine gun that guns them all down. It ended up being the dumbest thing you could possibly do, but nobody would have known that before because wars hadn't been fought with machine guns before. Same things with drones. Like modern military tactics, when you introduce the fact that anybody can see everybody at any given time, and you can just send a little flying toy to go and then blow them up, it's a meat grinder. You're sending people to the front line to experiment on how war is fought with this new technology.
Yes.
Yes. Can you imagine for just a second here? So, U.S. spent almost 20 years in Afghanistan, correct? Right?
Yep,
Almost 20 years?
Yep.
Can you imagine Taliban terrorists having drones with explosives? How would that go for us? How much more Americans would have died just from that one little thing? Mm-hmm. And in the future, if we ever go back to Middle East, for example, people now know. People now know how easy and how inexpensive it could be to kill people. That whole war with Russia and Ukraine, there really hasn't been a war where two nations fought against each other that are basically equally matched. And again, like you said, it's not a total war, not carpet bombing, none of that stuff. It's basically one part has more people and they manufacture more weapons, and then the other part has, in more cases, better weapons, better thermals, even better training, so to speak, because a lot of Americans have been training Ukrainians in Ukraine. So that's why they've been able to keep up for so long. And then again, no carpet bombing. That's a huge thing that you mentioned. I mean, because that right there is trench warfare, house to house. It's a very different war. People speak the same language, basically, even though in Ukraine, they now banned speaking Russian language on their side. So you cannot speak Russian if you're a soldier. You get punished for that. So, but they still do it. I still watch the videos. They speak it. They try not to, but they do.
How long, Omar, do you think it's possible for them to, like they had I remember I saw a video recently and there was a scrambler. It looked like some type of gun and you pointed at a drone and it fucking knocks it out.
Oh, yeah, we've had those for a while.
Shouldn't, I mean, how long are we away from technology where, it knocks out all drones and it makes drones obsolete?
I don't think they'll ever be obsolete.
Well, I get it, but like, so the majority of drones are low tech drones, right? And like the Syrians putting them together. There's pictures and videos of Syrians putting them together and using them against each other when the last conflict flared up. But with, like, say if we got into something, like, say for instance, if America got into it with the Taliban again or something like that, somebody would quickly figure out a way to knock out their drones because their drone technology is lesser than ours.
But just as fast, they figure out ways around it. So like in Ukraine, jammers were utilized for for a very long period of time, getting better and better at jamming things. And then the drone technology just kept evolving around jammers and switching to different frequencies and all that.
It's some geeky fucking hacker
and
figuring it out.
Eventually, what they figured out is if you just take a fiber optic wire and put it into the drone and then just have it drag this tiny, like, atom-sized
like a
fucking
fishing
wire,
net, fishing line
behind it, then it can't be jammed. It can't be shot down by those scramblers. You're tethered to something now, but the wire is so long and so tiny that it doesn't make too much of a difference. There's always going to be ways around countermeasures, and people will figure it out as long as the war goes on. My favorite quote of all time is, "Before man, there was war awaiting for him, ultimate trade awaiting its ultimate practitioner." It's what we do. We innovate around things, and war is what we do best.